All right, so good evening there. Hi. Again, I have to now start with the next part of the class. With with this class, we're going to finish the second unit, the fourth class out of the 8 that we got. And well, again, I hope that you're going to be able to join today, Danitza, so that we can see all those details about speaking and everything, so that we can improve, all right, those difficulties little by little, because it's actually something that you have to be working on your own, as we're going to be covering these other elements. But of course, I'm going to help you out by giving you these strategies, by telling you what to do in elements that, of course, you can consider, or you can do them differently. Okay, that's always going to be up to you. But I have to give these recommendations as part of the needs that we have for improving. So, again, before going to this, I'm going to actually first talk about the reflexive pronouns. And actually, as I'm waiting for you a little bit, I'm going to give a short review. I'm just going to mention the elements that we just covered, all right? For example, gerunds, all right? We know that gerunds are very important, that gerunds can be used, right, as the subject of a sentence, as the object of a sentence, and being the object, it can be placed right after some verbs, after some expressions, after prepositions. All right, so it can be complex, and let's remember that they are not working as actual verbs, they are working as nouns, and that's why they can be subject, and they can be, again, the object of something. Okay, so that's the most important thing about gerunds, and actually I wanted to recap that. And also, let's remember that we finished such, right? We know that we used to use such, so we worked on that, but such was the last part. Such as an intensifier. Okay, sorry. It intensifies what? Nouns. It can be a simple noun, or it can be a noun that is composed of the noun, and before that you have a description with the adjective, for example. Okay, but in both cases, such will intensify that idea, right? It was such a great day that, and you can mention the consequence, right? This is such a magnificent, I don't know, view. That's such a great story. Okay, they were such great friends. If it's plural, we don't use our and, right? It's just plural. But again, it was used with nouns, and that's the purpose of using such. All right. Now, I believe that that's it, because it's now 9:10. I have to begin now the lesson itself. All right, I'm talking about reflexive pronouns. That's going to be the last lesson. If you again don't join, well, I'm going to cover the speaking recommendations just like that, and that will be it. Okay. Now let's begin with this. And actually, you are here now. We're going to cover then these speaking elements with you. That's great. In that way, again, we're going to leave the last presentation for the end, and that's going to be more than enough, because again, that's just one presentation that we have left, and we can divide that in today and tomorrow. But today we're going to cover these lessons, these extra lessons, to work these details that I mentioned before. Okay, so you're here with me, Danitza. Good evening. How are you? Is everything okay?
Hi, Jose Luis. Yes, everything is okay.
All right, good, very good. Let me see, please. I think I can hear you again, but I don't know if the volume was too low. I'm going to verify my audio also just in case. All right, good. But if you can hear me, it's good. Now, let's do the following. Danitza, were you able to watch the previous classes recording or not yet?
Yes, I saw the previous class.
Okay, Good. So with that information, you know what we're going to do now, right? I'm going to cover extra lessons with you. I mean, I have three presentations that we don't have to cover them all because they are part of another course, the speaking course. And here I'm just going to show you those elements to try, all right, to apply them so that you can try to apply all those, well, they are called strategies, okay, so that again we don't have those difficulties and we can improve even the interaction we will have. Also, again, I told you we're going to see some extra rules and so on, just in terms of interacting and being sure that it's going to work in a more significant way. All right, so to go there, let's begin with this, Danitza. This first presentation, very shortly, it shows only three main strategies, but I would like you to read the beginning only, and then we will take a look at the three of them, and I'm going to not to teach you, I'm going to tell you how you can practice that by yourself so that you can keep improving on that. Okay, so these are main recommendations for improving our speaking skills. Let's read all these recommendations first, please.
Okay. Don't use your head to translate rather than thinking of scenarios or simpler explanations. As a beginner, you will make mistakes and you won't understand everything. Don't look for specific words. Give your speech simple and new words little by little.
Okay, thank you very much, Denise. Now, again, as we're preparing, please, in a while, you're going to be ready to turn on your camera, all right? Because I'm going to make you practice with short exercises, and I need you this time to be with your camera on, all right? Not right now. Later on, I'm going to tell you, but again, if little by little you can feel more comfortable and be in the class, in the entire class with the camera on, that's going to be a big plus, all right, in the sense of many things. But let's start with this. Now, how much of these things you consider, Danitza? How many of these elements do you consider as you're speaking? Do you have that in mind as you are speaking? Or you tend to forget some things that you're trying to translate every time, or you're thinking of not making mistakes and you're afraid of making mistakes, and just because of that you stop and you think and you overthink and you don't continue, and that override stops you from going forward, or you look for specific words, or you want to say something too complex but you don't know how to say it, and again you stop over there. So how many of these, let's say, mistakes you make or these recommendations you don't follow? What do you say?
I think I made all those mistakes. Where the first, I think I try to give examples with a good structure or that sounds good. So that's my main pivot to explain an idea. And the second, well, it's really the first one, and then look for specific words. I well, here I think I'm trying to improve my vocabulary uh, because I am trying to remember things that I've read. So that's why I lost time with the specific words. And keep your speech simple. I try, but just I think that's not one of my main points here, but the others just and we work little by little really with the third.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Danitza. Now, again, we have to look for ways to improve this, right? And this is actually why I'm showing you this. This is part of a program, and this actually takes time, and it's always going to take time, of course. But we have to work on this now because at the same time we are learning the new contents. And again, it's not because you have these difficulties or that you feel, it's just because I believe that you have a lot of elements over there, but it's just that there is something that is not letting that go. Now, before going actually to the strategies, now I have to ask you again something very important. Perhaps you already watched, right, the class and you listened to that. So, how many of the things that you use in your life, or let's say, what's the percentage of English use in any day of your life? For example, today, of 100%, what was the percentage of English that you saw, that you read, that you heard in English, and what was the percentage in Spanish?
I could say like 80% in English because uh, I work as a data analyst, so I am able to listen music, I listen podcasts, I listen to these kinds of things. But at least my listening is well, 8 hours. The 8 hours that I work, for example, today, um, 8 hours I was listening podcasts of music in English. About
Okay.
reading, um, I used to um, we can say use the platform of Pearson. So the hour that while I eat, I am how can I say um, reading and make no sé cómo se dice, avanzar making progress in the platform. And then after that, for example, yesterday and the days we are not here in this meetings, I spent like 2 hours until 1 a.m. Making some things or checking some grammar specifically.
Great. I mean, that's a lot. It means, again, that's something that perhaps is going to flourish little by little, but it's great because it means that you're constructing that, and that's perfect. Because, again, one of the biggest mistakes that it's, I see that that's not your mistake, is that some people just use English in the class and that's it, right? And what about your social interaction? Do you have, I mean, is everything you use in English, or is just that your work is like that, but what about the language in your on your cell phone, the language on your computer? Is the
Everything
language
is
in
in
everything
English.
you use in English? All right,
Everything is in
great.
English. Well, about the interactions, something spontaneous could be that I don't have this kind of conversations just only here in this kind of meetings. But after that, no, I think I will try to get into course from TOEGAONEON Bolivia, are free courses in which you can talk with other people in English. I don't know. I yesterday was talking with my cousin. No, yes, and he told me that he was already there, and that's like an alternative to improve my something spontaneous because I think I really need to I don't know make it fluid.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. That's good. Yeah, I mean, you have actually a lot of options there, Denise. I mean, there are even many apps. They are not necessarily to learn a language, but many of those apps are used to exchange knowledge, and many of those people are interested in learning languages. All right. I believe that at the end of the presentation, I have two recommendations. All right, but you also do it. I mean, there's a lot of elements, and by showing you that at the end, you can consider that because actually, it's a really good idea to create an environment. You have actually the whole environment, but I think the only thing is missing is that interaction that you're talking about, right? Something more spontaneous, something with which you can simple have conversations, not about grammar, not about all those details, just something that you feel free to speak, right? So great. Now, let's apply little by little. Again, we cannot practice because this is not part of the course, but take this into account and I'm going to tell you how you can practice. All right. So first is paraphrasing, right? How can you define the word or the expression paraphrase, Danit? So what is to paraphrase something?
Is express an idea, but in your own words,
Okay.
giving
All
credit.
right. Good. Uh-huh. Now, taking that into account, here we have a very short and simple example of paraphrasing, right? So let's read these two elements, please. And then it's the complex idea of expressing that and the simple paraphrasing.
Mm, she angered me with her inappropriate comments, rumor spreading, and disrespectfulness at the formal dinner table. Simple, she made me angry when she was rude at dinner.
Okay, great. Now, of course, the paraphrasing, the simple form of saying this, of course, is omitting, right, many important details that can be interesting expressing. But the main idea, again, just to improve little by little, is to paraphrase things that are not clear at all, but to try to retain the main information about it. All right. So one way of practicing this, and it's actually at the level that you want to achieve in terms of the TOEFL, is listening to some lectures. All right. Because in the TOEFL, you have some of them. And actually, it's the hardest part for some people to listen to those lectures. So, how can you define actually a lecture? What is a lecture, Danitza?
Mm, as I know, for TOEFL is like well, the topics can be academic or related with university or some topics related with just academic. And there are just around 4 paragraphs, and they give you the main idea, they explain with examples, and then they make some points for you to explain later in
All
your class.
right. Okay, and if I ask you, is a lecture to listen or to read? What do you do with the lecture? Do you read it or do you listen to it?
Mm, lectures are something you read, I think, but I don't know. Yes, I
Yeah, it
think there,
seems right.
there is a difference because some parts they give you uh the listening part and the reading part, so that you can work with both skills.
All right, yes. Uh-huh. But actually, it's because it's similar to the word we have in Spanish, right? For reading. Lecture seems to that word. But actually, yes, you can have, of course, things for reading. But a lecture itself, a lecture is like a given class and it's for listening. All
Mm.
right. A lecture is, for example, a class that a professor gives at a university, right? If you, for example, lecture in Harvard, they are going to show you a class in which a professor is giving a class, all right? Is giving a lesson, an assignment. That's a lecture, all right? So
Mm.
again, then my recommendation, you have free lectures from Harvard, you have free lectures from Stanford, from Oxford, right, and from many other different universities. At least the ones I look at and I watch the most are related to Harvard or to Stanford because they have topics of my interest. Okay, so one thing that you can do there, Danitza, because most of them have also then the captions. All right, they have the captions that you can check. So listen to the lectures, not to everything. Try to play random parts of the lecture. Okay, so again, now the only thing I can give you is just some ways in which you can practice. All right. So pick a random part. I don't know, it's 30 minutes, go to minute 25, play it for 2, 3 minutes. Don't watch the video, even just listen to it. Take notes. All right. Take notes of everything. Then replay it again just by listening one more time. Be sure that you have the information. Then you watch the video with the captions and be sure of everything you were able to get. All right. But even before doing that, try to tell that, as in this practice, for example, the student is supposed to tell this part of the lecture, 2 minutes of the lecture, in 40 seconds to 60 seconds, explaining what happened. So try to do the same as well. After watching the lecture, and you can record yourself, because one of the best ways of practicing is recording yourself. Only when you listen to yourself, to what you're saying, to your pronunciation, to your pauses, to your details, you're going to be able to spot that, and you're going to recognize better than anyone how to improve that. Okay, so again, my recommendation: watch lectures, select a specific and a random time, 2-3 minutes, take notes, record yourself explaining that, paraphrasing that in your own words, then watch the lecture again, play it with the captions, and be sure that you were able to understand everything correctly and make the corrections. All right, see what words were different and how much you can improve by making those comparisons. Okay, that's going to help you in many things, not just vocabulary, but also listening, of course, and speaking. All right, many things are going to be practiced there. Okay, that's my first recommendation. Then, in the second part, it's explain. Now, here, no Spanish, right? Sometimes it happens, but don't feel frustrated, and don't try to go to Spanish directly. Okay, because I know you have all the tools and you have all the vocabulary to tell me anything without going to Spanish. All right, sometimes you go to Spanish and I go, it's not bad, Danitza, but if you really avoid it and you understand how you can express something without going there, it's going to be better and better every time. Okay, and how do you do it? It's just explaining. Sometimes you're going to say more instead of just one word, but it is better. It's better if you explain something that you don't know how to say in English in 2 lines or 3 lines than saying that word in Spanish. All right, it's way more useful. It's way more beneficial for you. All right, of course you can take advantage of this, let's say, interaction that we have here, but I'm sure that also for other people that's going to be beneficial as well. And sometimes it's going to be clearer, because sometimes if they don't speak Spanish, that word is not going to tell them anything. All right, so it's better just to use an explanation. So let's read this briefly, please, Danita. Let's read this slide.
Okay. If you don't know how to say a word in Spanish, try to express the idea differently. I think that people in orphanatos should receive more attention from. As you don't know the meaning of a word, restate your idea and make the listener understand what you mean. For example, there are these places, in which children without parents are taken care of. Those are the places that you should receive more attention from.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, so instead of saying that word, that should be orphanages or orphanage, and we don't know how to say that, then let's not use Spanish, because sometimes it's not going to be similar, sometimes it's going to cause more confusion, and sometimes it's going to create that dependency on you on using Spanish as this, all right, element to build a bridge between the things that you don't know and the things that you know. And that's actually a bad bridge, right? Because you're going to depend on that, and you're always going to be using these little details in Spanish, all right? That again is not bad, but I believe that you really want to improve more and more, and I recognize that. So this is my suggestion, all right? Leave that word aside and try to explain that differently. Always go around. You don't have to be as precise. You don't have to give the exact definition. No, you have to explain it. And again, I know, because I notice you've been speaking to me. I know your level in a certain way. And that's why I know that you're able to do this, right? You have the tools to explain any word without going to Spanish, all right? And for example, we're going to try practicing, and this is what you have to do, Danita. This is one practice to do this. You look for random words in Spanish, and you don't give me the translation. You give me the explanation in English. Let's try, for example. I'm going to select some of them, all right? The first one, how do you express, no, actually not that one, this word. How can you explain this word? Let's say that you don't remember how to say that in English, but how can you explain that word?
Is I think to be a person that who is selfish and is not kind and don't put his or her shoes into others. He just he or she just only thinking about himself for his or her own beneficial.
Okay. For benefit? Yes, yes, good. If you say selfish, actually, that's the translation, right? So it's good. But imagine that you don't know that it's selfish, right? So that one is selfish, but it's good. So what you said is great, right? It's someone that is always thinking about himself or herself, someone that doesn't like to share anything, right? Someone that believes that that thing is his or her property only. And again, it's not something that is going to share with anybody else, right? So yes, go around, always look that way. And again, practicing this is going to make you able to explain anything. If you learn how to describe these characteristics, you will be able to do that with many other details. Let's try the same with this. This can be sometimes hard, but what do you say? How can you describe this? Not giving me the translation of this word, just the explanation. What is that? How can you explain that word?
Um, well, when you got sick and you are trying to recover your health, and then suddenly you clear the same symptoms, and probably uh, you're going to have the same, or you're going to feel sick again because um, uh, you don't have enough, I don't know,
Exactly.
immunology
Okay.
to
Yes, no, but it's
recover.
good. Uh-huh. Yeah, in this case, this is going to be a relapse, all right? Relapse. But yes, everything that you're saying is good. And again, if you feel that you're getting to a place in which then you need to be more specific, then instead of feeling frustrated because you don't have that yet, just stop there because actually everything that you said up to that point was enough. All right, because if with everything you said again up to the point in which you were showing some other details, it was already clear. All right, but again, you have to recognize that because also if you always try to go further and further and you're going to be in that part in which you are very insecure, you're always going to feel like that, right? But there is a part in which you have more knowledge or you feel more comfortable with that. Try to stay there at least a little bit more of the time. Then if you feel that you have more and you remember, go there, right? But if not, again, to avoid the frustration, and so you know how we work, right? We are very complex, but we feel stressed, we feel that frustration. That's only going to make it worse, right? So as soon as you feel that you're going to feel frustrated because you're not finding that word, then stop there and leave it there, right? And you say, yes, that we okay, because that was enough. So you say, right, well, it's when you're sick and you're about to recover, right? You're about to get better, about to, right? But you are not better. But suddenly, right, you get sick again, right? So if you say that, look, I'm not using complex words, I'm not using any medical terminology, I'm just being very simple and basic, but with that, I'm being clear with this. All right. And that's what we have to try to do. As long also because I don't know terminology for many, many fields. And we don't know either in any language that we speak, right? For Spanish, I don't know. We don't know terminology for many things. So let's just try to keep it simple in that way. And that's great. Okay. So that's my recommendation, Danitza. Practice with this. Look for words. Learn how to describe things. Instead of again trying to memorize, because of course you're going to get vocabulary, but there's always something that you are not going to get because that's how we work. All right. So instead, again, of using the word in Spanish, you don't have every time something to translate. But again, that's actually right the benefit of today's world. You always have your cell phone with you. You can look for the translation. So that's an alternative. But if you learn to describe these details, learn how to describe people and their characteristics, learn how to describe objects, learn how to describe physical characteristics or related to personality. If you have that in your vocabulary, again, that's going to be useful for many different types of translations. All right, not translations, sorry, explanations. Okay, that's what we're trying to do here. But again, this is a strategy. I mean, this is only for you to work little by little. First, paraphrasing, then explaining and not using Spanish. And then I have one more over here, but I want to know if you have any questions about this part and if you believe that this is useful. Again, I'm going to give this to you and I'm giving this to you, but you have to be the one who needs to organize this and you need to see if this is really going to be useful or not. But what do you say? Any questions or comments so far? Let me know, please.
I think uh, it's a good idea. I will try to apply, but I really think I need more vocabulary related with the TOEFL. I know that there are topics. I have a list, so I will try to do that with and use for the list of words that are appear in TOEFL that I don't really know how to put in context or use. So yes, I think both could work very well.
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. If you know that list, if you know about it, you can try to apply it, right? And again, it's good, but remember that the words by themselves, if they are just separate, they are not going to do much. But yes, as you're saying, you can combine these strategies with those words, trying to apply them, even trying to explain those in context. But again, here, this is going to be useful mainly when you are producing something. And yes, the vocabulary is very important. And actually, some of the elements, let me go to the second presentation, is going to mention something about the vocabulary. All right, but this is the last one in this first type. Again, these are basic, and we all know this, but this is what you have to do to improve those details. The last one in this case is just synonyms, right? And the recommendation for practicing this is very simple. You have, again, lists, and this is also useful for your vocabulary, Danitza. If you're memorizing new vocabulary, sometimes better than memorizing the whole definition, it's a good idea to memorize a synonym. All right. And in that way, sometimes people remember better because you have very complex words and you try sometimes to memorize again what it means instead of just a possible synonym. And that's going to help you even better sometimes. Okay. And this is actually this strategy about you have a list of simple words as therefore, important, say, have, in conclusion, and get. But you know that if you look for complex list of synonyms, you're going to find very interesting words. But if you sometimes find them just as they are in a text, you're not going to understand what they are. But again, if you know that they are a synonym of important, of therefore, and so on, it's always going to be a plus. This is good for memorizing new vocabulary, but also for speaking because you're always going to have an alternative. This is also in order not to repeat the same words, but also in order to say something else in case you don't remember that exact word. Okay, so this is the last for this one. And let's try for some of them. For example, if I ask you for alternatives for the word important, what words can you think of? What are some alternatives for important?
Important. Um, it could be something that is um, more is very valued or is something that you can use as I don't know if this is the expression, but as a core to relate for other things. It's a pillar, something like that.
Okay, yes, we're using something, we're trying to explain this is not bad, but in this case, let's try to use synonyms. One of actually, the first one you mentioned, I think, is a good option, valued, right? Something that is valued can be important. That's one. But what do you say? Other words, just one word. In one word, how can you replace important?
Um, I don't have idea. I think about a pillar, something that is
Pillar,
really
yes, yes, So you can say, I'm going to mention, for example, some of them, right? You can say something essential, pivotal,
pivotal.
vital,
That's good.
pivotal,
Yeah.
right? So pivotal, essential, well, crucial, right? Those four are interesting to replace those, right? Crucial, vital, pivotal, essential. And if you take that into account again, that's also good again, not only for speaking that all, but also for writing. And my recommendation, okay, is that even though we believe that we know even the basic words and we try to get them more complex, we should start by by memorizing synonyms of the basic words that we know. All right, even for say, because you have to sometimes mention what someone else said, right? But if I ask you also for that, for the verb say, what other verbs, they don't have to be the same, okay? But they have to be similar. But what other words similar to say do you know in which a person is expressing something?
Express.
Express, yes, that's one. Okay, but it doesn't
um,
count. Okay, one. What else?
mm, I think it's related with share. If you want to say
Could
something, you want to
be.
share.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, we're not far. There's one that is very common, right? What is the other word that we always use instead of say?
share.
Tell.
Oh yeah. State.
Uh-huh.
States. Is
State.
okay. Yeah.
State. Exactly. That's a state, right? Yes. And again, have that ready because again, you need to be ready for being, I mean, flourished in that way. So comment. That's one thing, right? Comment, to declare, right? To
Declaration.
express, as you said, right? A state. Then you have even um, you can say even make clear. If you make clear something, you clarify something. Again, they are not the same, but you are talking about ways of expressing something. All right, and
Mm,
you have again a variety of things. Of course, the meaning is not going to be the same, but the idea of expressing something over there is going to be present. Okay, but like that again, because we need to cover some other details, try to do that. The most common verbs that you know, Danitza, have a lot of variations. And actually, instead of memorizing sometimes, and you can do that, but this is my recommendation. Instead of going directly to unknown words that you don't have any idea of what they are, of course, you have to practice for the TOEFL, but try to start with the things that you know. And you're going to realize that if you start with the things that you know, you're going to get to synonyms that are kind of different, but they mean the same. And if you create a connection, right, between the basic things that you know and the more complex words that you're getting little by little, it's going to be easier to go back. Okay, and it's easier than when you go directly to a random word and you try to memorize that random word just in any context. But again, it's going to be there. I know that you're going to perhaps memorize that for the test, but it's going to be very likely that if you get nervous or something like that, that word is going to disappear directly. All right, it's better again when you have something better structured, built. And that again is doing this. try to create a network starting from the basics and going to the more complex and different words. I'm sure that if you start, for example, with important, little by little you're going to get to words that are going to be kind of weird, but interesting and new. And they are very likely going to be part of the TOEFL test as well. Okay, so
Mm.
that's the last one. Then I'm going to keep going. This is the first presentation that again, we're not working in detail, we're not practicing in detail, but I'm giving you those elements so that you can consider that. Now, in the next part, and remember, you can interrupt me at any moment, but this is what you were commenting before, right? Vocabulary. Of course, this is number one of the second part of strategies that we have. Now, I don't know if you have your own goals, Danitza. Are you memorizing a certain number of words per day already? Do you have a number in mind? What are you doing with that?
I have a list, and well, I read a book, and well, I put in the list the words that and that moment I didn't understand. Then um how can I say this? Um, I look I look the meaning in the dictionary. Then play my the idea of my uh yeah, I don't know, how can I say? The idea is that I try to remember, well, for example, I have a word, and then I try to express what the context of that word, and how the book used the word, and with which part of the story was related. That's the idea.
Great. I believe that's a very good way of practicing. Then you can add this as something else to that. All right. I don't know again if you have exact number, but you can establish that. They say here, right? Some people can memorize 3 daily words. Sometimes that's more than enough if you have the time. Some other are going to memorize 10 daily words. Again, you can establish a number, but it's always good to be structured with that. If you
Mm,
are organized and you say, okay, I'm going to memorize 10 words per day, and if you follow that, again, if you have to be disciplined, right? If you want to follow this structure. If not, again, there's always more strategies, but this one requires that for you to be disciplined. But let's say, okay, 3 to 10 words per day. Now, something again very interesting to do, and I told you, and actually again, few people do this, because sometimes as they are practicing and studying, they are silent, okay, and they're just writing and writing and doing this and that. But one of the best things and the better things that you can do is always speaking aloud. All right, you have to listen to everything that you're saying, and that's why recording yourself, it's also a good idea. Okay, so again, this is an alternative and actually something extra that you can do to what you're doing. Try to have, now because of the technology you can do it. You can create, I don't know if you know how to do it, you can create a list of words, and to that list of words, I believe that sometimes you can add a link or something to it, or a document. You can add a file, and you can add to that file your recording. And what you're going to do is you read the word, you read the definition, okay, aloud. You have to listen to yourself, and you read one example. You don't have to give the example, but you can look for one of the many examples that Google is giving you. All right.
yeah.
But again, just by doing that, again, it's going to be great. You're going to listen to that word again. If you don't remember, look for the pronunciation first. That's why also I'm going to show you other tools. If you're not sure of the pronunciation, you have many ways of verifying that. Okay, verify that, but record. Record yourself saying all the words that you're memorizing, plus the definition and plus the example. Okay, you're going to have a big list of things, but it's going to be useful. All right, and believe me, it's way better than sometimes reading in your mind silent, or just saying that once if you can listen to that once again, you can evaluate yourself. And again, that's going to be a big plus. All right. It's always different when you listen to yourself. That's I think the best thing you can do when you're learning a language or when you're doing music, for example. Right? Because when you're doing music and you're learning a language, sometimes you feel that, okay, I think I'm good. But you listen to the recording and you say, okay, I think no, it's not that good, right? I have to keep this or change this, improve that. So record yourself. Sometimes it doesn't feel good to listen to your own mistakes, but it's the best thing that you can do. All right, try to record everything you do. Okay, so that's recommendation. Now here, this is what I was going to show you. I don't know how much you use the Cambridge or the Oxford dictionary for, first this one, the Cambridge and the Oxford dictionary for pronunciation. Then it's, do you use them a lot, or what do you do when you're not sure about the pronunciation of something?
I use deep learning,
Okay,
and you can also use, right? I know voice, so she one of them. Yeah, speaks.
okay, all right, very good. And what about English? Have you heard about it or used it before?
Yes, I heard about it, but I really don't use at the moment the tool. I think it's something like short videos, like give you examples, right? About some expressions.
Yeah, exactly. For anything. And again, this is useful because sometimes, the artificial intelligence is not going to give you even the most precise or the better example in terms of pronunciation or how
Yeah.
it can vary or the context, right? You were talking about context, Anitza. So I believe that if you want to practice something in context, English is going to be the best option. Why? Because it is going to show you that one word in thousands and thousands of videos with different contexts, and you're going to know when to use it. When is it correct? After what words you use it? Before what words you use it? So English actually is good for practicing many things, from learning new words to improving your vocabulary. Okay? And I want to try something, just something with you now, with this purpose. Again, taking advantage that if you don't have to leave early, we're going to be some extra minutes, but this is English. Okay, it's very basic, very basic. But you have the accents that you can use, right? The US, UK, Australian, but even you can use the Canadian, the Ireland, Scotland, New Zealand. All right. And again, let's look for something. For example, okay, let's say that that's going to be the case. So the first thing, it's loading. Give me a second.
You can download the video, the videos.
Yeah, tell me, Danitza, are you asking me if you can download the video?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, give me a second. You can, as they are YouTube videos, all of them can be downloaded directly.
Oh yeah.
But they are not going to have this element because they always give you the caption over here and the word is highlighted. Okay, so you can download it, but it is not going to be with these elements, this interaction that you have here. Also, they have a special toolbar in which you can control the speed in a better way. All right, you can do that on YouTube, but here it is better. And when you play this, right, replay, they replay the exact part in which they are pronouncing or saying this word. Okay, but you can go, of course, 5 seconds before, or you can play any time of the video, even you want to go 20 seconds to understand the context. But the idea is that they get you to the specific part in which they are using that word in a conversation, right? And you can play one after the other. But the thing here again is that you can compare even the difference in pronunciation. For example, I don't know if you know the difference between this word in American English and in British English. That is.
No. No,
No?
sorry.
All right.
Advertisement.
Okay, so
For related with publicity.
and how do you read it? How do you read this word?
Advertisement.
Okay, all right. Now let's check the US. Okay, let's see this.
What I know is lyrics. Lyrics is with British, right? But lyrics, how can you say lyrics in USA? Yes.
Yeah. One more time, please. And it's again, I was loading this, but everything just froze. You were telling me something. I couldn't hear that very well.
You say lyrics. I think that's the UK way to pronounce to make the pronunciation with this word. But
Okay, to pronounce.
To pronounce. And in the US, how do you pronounce that word?
Lyrics. Are you talking about lyrics, for example, the song lyrics, or what is the word that you're saying?
Yes.
The lyrics. Yeah, but that's where you're saying that that's the British way of saying it, because actually I've always used that one. I'm going to verify if there's an alternative way, but I know that also that's the lyrics that we have over here. I don't know a variation for that one, and it's let me look for it because actually what you're telling me is new.
I remember because my teacher at CB told me that's the British way. Yeah. Okay.
That's weird. Perhaps it's something else. We're going to look, all right? But I know that lyrics is it's understood as yes, the all the words that you have for a specific song, and that's yeah, that's for both languages. I don't know if the pronunciation changes, but I also know that it's lyrics in the two cases. You have differences. I know some words that have clear differences. This is one of them. You're going to listen. I have a couple more. If we have the time, I'm going to make you listen. But I don't know about lyrics. Okay, I'm going to check that later on. But let's listen. You're going to verify what's the difference between this word in American English and in British English. Okay, and we're not talking about the difference in writing, but the difference in pronunciation. All right. No, you cannot hear the audio, right? I'm going to play it with the sound. Give me a
I will
second.
try with my cell phone.
Oh.
I will use the same. It's also the song is not so good, so
Okay. Okay. Yes. Let's try then. Okay, listen to a couple of them in the US and a couple of them in the UK, and then tell me the difference, please.
Mm. Mm. It's not loading, loading. It's just the it's not.
Let's try with this. I'm going to play. Let's only try. If not, again, we try then later on. But again, the idea here is I just want you to see the difference, and then is the way you're going to use it. But give me a sec.
Okay.
Let's try to play this.
Advertisement for your product.
Okay, that's one, right? I don't know if you were able to hear to that, Denise.
No, just a little.
Okay,
One more time.
yes.
So it's like chances are your product is the best possible advertisement for your product. And so, possible advertisement for your product.
No, for your product.
Okay, but is it distorted, or is it just because of the pace of his voice, or is it the sound?
What? Sorry.
Yeah, I was asking, what's the reason you hear like that? Is it because of the quality of the sound? Is it because of the connection? Or is it because of his speaking too fast in that part?
Because the I acento, eso, accent, I don't know.
The accent, because of the accent?
The accent. Yes.
Okay, so yes, then again, this is going to be then very good for you. Actually, Danitza, you're going to be in English a lot of time. Okay, I can say that because this is going to help you a lot, and this helps to many people. But if you know how to use it, you have to explore that because that's the part. Actually, they are starting this video. I'm going to play it again. He says directly the word that you need to understand. Okay, let me play it many times and try to
He
get
mentioned
this.
something that is the best advertisement for your product. But that's all.
But that's all. Okay, except, but here remember, we're just paying attention to the pronunciation of that word, right? So it's what you said, right? Advertisement.
Possible advertisement for your product.
All right, so that's what you need to. But remember, we're only paying attention to this in this case because later on you can use it in context, right? But now let's try to check. Well, actually, one more. Let's go to the next one for the US.
Well, when people see a five-star pool in an advertisement, they make assumptions. Well, when people see a five-star pool in an advertisement, they make assumptions.
Right. So far it means that there's there's coincidence between the two words, right? Advertisement. In the two cases, it was advertisement. Right here, I think the context is a little bit clearer, right? When people see a five-star poll in an advertisement. Let's just see one more.
Administration, and they were using creative accounting merely to justify their advertisements. And I became so...
Okay, so in a certain way, we're still in the same field, right? Advertisement. But let's play it once again.
Administration, and they were using creative accounting merely to justify their advertisements. And I became...
All right, so advertisement, and advertisement, right? And again, if you play it like that, you can always go back 5 seconds until you have a better context. All right, that's why again it's a good way of practicing using the word in context. But also to do this, let's now you listen to the British accent.
It's a massive ethical issue which is compounded by this horror. This is a regular advertisement in the London. It's a massive ethical issue which is compounded by this horror. This is a regular advertisement in the London Underground.
I don't know if you were able to hear to that one, Danitza.
The accent said advertisement. Something like that.
Now let's play the next one. It's loading.
Just accent, right?
these were well known as Waterloo teeth as an advertisement. The idea was that rather than having false teeth that came from perhaps a convicted criminal or a victim of disease, you would instead have the teeth of a...
All right. So, I don't know my microphone is on or off. Can you hear me now, Danitza?
Yes. With a little
It's a little bit high.
too low. Too slow.
Yes. Let me just give me a second. Okay, now I think you should be better. All right, now, I don't know if you can then tell me the difference. You were right, but again, the connection will work very well. My computer, well, this computer will explode, I think. If I'm going to use these many programs, I'm going to use my other laptop. But what can you tell me about the difference? How do you pronounce that word in American English and in British English?
In British, I think they say advertisement, something like advertisement, advertisement, something like that. And US is like advertisement.
Yeah, exactly. Advertisement, the US, advertisement, that's the UK. Okay, of course, that can be pronounced in a better way, but I'm putting emphasis on the difference. Okay, so advertising and advertisement. The stress is different and the pronunciation is different. All right, it happens with other words. But again, I just wanted you to see that because, again, English is useful for those many reasons. For the context that you can have, for the many videos that are collected over there and they get you to the specific part in which they pronounce that word, because you can go back 5 seconds or return to the same part and repeat until you memorize that. And you can use this for any word. Some phrases also, you can look for phrases, for idioms. Of course, you're going to have less videos if you look for more consecutive words, right? But you have videos. But again, it's very useful. So again, as you're in the process of learning vocabulary, as you're telling me, Anissa, try to look for those words. If they are going to be too complex words, perhaps again, you're not going to find all of them, but most of them are going to be there and they should be there for you to practice and know how to use them. Okay, so use it. That's another, again, recommendation that I give you. I wanted to look for some other details, but again, the connection and the, well, my computer is not going to let us do that. So very quickly, the next or the following ones to be finishing. So to improve your vocabulary and your pronunciation, use these dictionaries that you got, also the tool that you told me that you use plus English. That's going to be very useful. Now, this is another web page, and actually, you know, write English. I think you have that. You don't have to write it down. But this is another one that is very, 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 very useful. And I know you're going to love it because I believe you like the British accent, so you can notice the difference. And you can study actually the many British differences that you have. It is in the chat, all right? This International Dialects of English Archive, this is a compilation of the same two scripts. Okay, it means you have two texts that are read by people around the world in English in many different languages. Okay, so you can read the same script with many different accents. I'm just going to show you some of them. All right, for example, here in dialects, right, you go to Europe. And in Europe, right, you have these places, of course, you have the Great Britain, you have England, Scotland, and Wales. Right, you go to England. And in England, you have this division. You can go to the accent that is in the southwest, and you can select people, all right, male, 32 years old, and you see some description of that person. You go to the southeast, so the accents are different. You're going to see. You can play, all of them are audios. reading one of the two scripts that they have. They only have two scripts, and they are reading one of them. And you have a lot of locations. You play, for example, one of them. All right, and this is the audio. The script, you're going to find the script, I believe, over here. If you're interested, then it's just explore. I downloaded it. I think this is the one. Go to submissions, and here they are going to show you the scripts that they use. All right, but you play it, for instance.
This recording, In Comma Gets a Cure, is copyright Douglas N. Honoraff, Jill McCullough, and Barbara Somerville.
Okay, it starts.
Well, here's a story for you. Sarah Perry was a veterinary nurse who had been working daily at an old zoo in a deserted district of the territory, so she was very happy to start a new job at a superb private practice in North Square near the Duke Street Tower. That area was much nearer for her and more to her liking.
So that's one type of the British accent from a very specific region in England, and I'm just going to play one more that is going to be from Scotland. But again, I'm showing you that they are reading the same script, at least one of the two that I'm telling you, and you can try to compare those differences. And that's always going to be, again, very useful. Let's listen to this just in case.
I'm going to try to find someone
This
For Marie,
Tell me, Anita.
I will try to find someone that has my accent. I don't know.
Your accent? Uh-huh.
Yes, because I think that could be useful too.
This is one more time, please, Anita.
That could be useful because I mean, I will not talk like the woman we heard before, but I could try to find another one with same characteristics.
Yeah, but actually here, this is actually a good way of practicing, because you, again, once you download the script, you can listen to many people, again, from these many different accents reading the same words. And in that script, I think you have a lot of variations, many different words, and you can compare. And again, that's useful, Danisa, because sometimes, again, I believe not that much in the TOEFL, but you have some people that are international in the listening part. But it's always useful to understand one word, right, with different accents. So you get to understand the variations and sometimes how some words can be really difficult to get. But again, with this script, you can make that comparison. And I just want to play one more because the other one was not the same script. Let's see if this is the one.
And Barbara.
Story for you. Sarah Perry was a veterinary nurse who'd been working daily at an old zoo in a deserted district of the territory. So she was very happy to start a new job at a superb private practice in North Square near the Duke Street Tower. That area was much nearer for her and more to her liking. Even so, in her first...
Good. So this is from Scotland, right? So again, if you read, this is the same script. The previous audio that I played for you, they were writing about Sarah Perry, all right? And here they are doing the same, or he is doing the same. The first one was from England, exactly, right? And this is from Scotland. So again, use this. This is another alternative that you got, Anissa, just to explore the different accents. And indirectly, you are going to know and understand the difference in pronunciation about very simple words. For example, the word territory. You're going to see that just the word territory has a lot of different variations in many different regions of England, Scotland, Wales, even in the US. If you go to California, New York, Washington, Miami, all right, you're going to see some interesting differences about those little words. And again, perhaps you're not going to spend a lot of time in doing this now, but if in the script you find interesting words for you and you want to practice the meaning they have or the pronunciation, try to use this. Okay, but this is again one alternative, and seeing the differences in accents is always useful, and I think sometimes is more challenging than understanding just the American or the British accent. Okay, but it's an extra challenge, and you can take that into account. Okay, a few more details, but I don't know if you have any questions or comments. Again, I'm just going to use some extra minutes, please, Danita, to show you the last details before finishing. But do you have any questions or comments so far?
I just want to say thank you because, as you notice, I can really get frustrated so fast. So I really appreciate your gesture
Okay.
and the time you took to give me these presentations.
Okay, no worries, Anita. And it's my pleasure because again, I know you're great at what you do, and again, I know how responsible you are because you show me that on Pearson. It's not easy to work on Pearson, and believe me, even though we have the time, many people just don't work with that. But I noticed that you're interested in learning, and you really want to learn because of many things. All right, and when I see that, of course, I also show the same. But of course, it's not the same. I wouldn't do this for someone that I know is not wanting to do it. All right. I really noticed that you want to learn, so that's why I'm sharing this with you. All right. So let me share the last details, and I'm sure this is going to be useful. But the strategy I'm just going to mention now. This is very important. Okay. Learn the natural flow of English. One exercise that you can do is sometimes being informal. If you know how to be informal and you know how to speak faster than I know sometimes you don't feel secure enough, right, or sure enough to speak too fast, but do it. Do it even though you cannot do it yet in a natural way. Try to pressure yourself a little bit. Why? Because you're going to understand why people do that. All right. It's just that you're going to get to a point, even though you feel that you cannot read fast or faster, you're going to start making what they do, that is contracting the words, linking the words, and creating this rhythm. All right. But it's just because you have to pressure yourself, and you're going to understand again why it happens. And that's again going to happen only if you force yourself. For example, these words over here, right? The what do you, or watch you, right? This is what they say, watch, instead of what do you, or what is you, instead of what did you, or what do you. So it can get, right, even more comprised, and it's getting more linked and linked. But this is the way in which you are going to improve not only actually again your speaking, but also your listening. Because if you know how to pronounce that word, linking everything, it's going to be easier to recognize that when you listen to. Well, we've been here, right? You don't say I am going to. They say I'm gonna, right? I'm gonna do it. So they don't even mention the subject. They don't mention the preposition. They just say I'm gonna, and they change the D for the T. Okay, but more than that, I would like to, this is the last practice I'm going to make you, right, do now, Denisa. Here you have many informal things, okay? Don't write like this. This is not my recommendation for writing. But I did this just for practicing, right? Gonna, cause, that is because, right? Gotta, that is got to, right? I have got to. Do you, right? Want to. Then contractions, right? I'll. Then here the same. Tell me, Denisa.
Yes, let me write.
Yeah, I couldn't hear very well one more time.
Let me is let me.
Let me, exactly. But again, you know that the T is very strong and it makes waste time. So that's why they always say, let me introduce you, instead of let me introduce you. It's the same as give me, right? Give me, let me, want to, got to, that is actually have got to, right? Actually, this is three words, but they just say one word, gotta. No, you have got to, yes, three words, and they just say one word, right? Do you, then again, gonna, should have. This is not correct, right, in writing. This is should have, but this is a contraction, right? You should have brought. then didn't you? Again, this is not correct, but this is just to practice the reading. Must have, don't you, and that's it. Okay, so what I want you to do now, let's begin with the first one, because again, with this practice we finish. Try to read this as fast as you can. All right, with all those contractions and everything. Okay, yes, let's try. Only try.
Today I'm gonna do some shopping because I gotta prepare something for my family. Do you wanna come with me? If you join me, I'll buy something for you as well.
Right? Okay, it was good. Just one little detail that you didn't consider this one, right? You read it as do you. And again, that's why you use some more second, right? And it's good, okay, it's great. But instead of do you, how do you read this?
Gotcha.
Chill, right? She wanna come, so it's like chill, chill. Like chill, like yours is missing. Chill. She wanna come with me? So it would be like this, right? Today I'm gonna do some shopping because I gotta prepare something for my family. She wanna come with me. If you join me, I'll buy something for you as well. All right, so she wanna come with me. She wanna come with me. She wanna join me. She wanna be here. She wanna do that. She wanna go dancing, right? So she wanna. It's like only like chew. All right, but again, this is not for you to speak like that every time, and even you don't have to use that on the test, right? But again, it's going to be helpful because in many of the listening exercises that you got, you can have this type of language. Even though they always try to be formal, if you can understand again this combination and linking of words, it's going to be always easier to understand and even easier to express yourself. And also this is useful for improving your fluency. All right, just try to read things. You can write things first formally, read them word by word, then try to challenge yourself and read that very fast. And you're going to see how you create connection between those words. Right, but the idea is again that you realize how the language works in that way. If you know that, if you know how to connect the words, if you understand how you can make them one word and make them sound something understandable, even though you're reading everything together, again, that's going to be little by little easier and easier for you to get everything. All right, and then just the words that are going to be different, that vocabulary, that's extra that needs. For the TOEFL, it's impossible that everybody's going to be ready in terms of knowing all the vocabulary. Okay, do it. Memorize as many words as you can. That's great. But again, the challenge in the TOEFL and for you to get a better score, more than memorizing all the vocabulary that you have over there, because again, there's always that's going to be missing, is you have to learn how to create. Okay, in terms of writing, in terms of speaking, and if you learn how to create and you understand these details, the words are just going to be missing elements that if the rest of the idea is clear, then it's going to be clear for you, even though you don't know the meaning of that specific word. Okay, so that's it. Okay.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. So again, you have more recommendations. We don't have the time to do it, but practice. I'm sure that you like some series, movies that you can watch, rewatch, that you can imitate. The best way possible to work on also practicing is imitating, right? Not only accents, but emotions, right? Imitate someone in the series saying something, and you can take a look at these two elements. I don't know if they're still working, Danita, but they are in the chat.
I tried both.
Both? It didn't work for you.
And tandem, yes. Didn't work.
Okay. No worries. Then I'm going to try to look for other alternatives. All right. Here, they told me this. I don't know if you know this last one. This is one that actually one person that was studying for me gave it to me, and he told me that it was very useful. Take a look at that, just in case. The last one, okay? Free for dog. He told me that it worked for him. I don't know if it's going to work for you, but try. Give it a try. But again, anyways, you also have apps, right? International apps that sometimes are for dating. But you know that it's not necessarily for dating. It can be for making friends and so on. But these international apps can put you in contact with people around the world. Try to use. There's a lot of alternatives, try to explore. The idea is again that besides doing what I'm showing you now with all these details and presentations and all these elements, is that you can, right, socially, let's say, use the language. That's going to be the thing that is going to help you the most. So what I did, and again to finish with that, is that I always forced my friends to speak with me. They always wanted to change to the native language as soon as we finished the class or anything. All right, but I told them no. I made them practice every time. Right now, you don't have a partner with you, but you must know people from your studies at the CBA, or I don't know. Try to be in contact with them or other people. It doesn't matter how well or how, all right, how their level is. The idea is that you try to establish the connection with them, that you start having conversations with them, all right? Even with me. If you want to write about something, just start something, I'm going to respond. In English, I'm going to help you out also with that. Okay, so you can count on me also if you want to have these conversations, but the idea is that you have to apply that in a social environment, and that's going to improve even better. All right? Good. That's it. With that, we're finishing. Again, the good thing is that in the previous class, I got to cover the most important um, topics also for the unit. Everything should be good now. On, let's say, on Monday, we're going to cover one little part of the topic that is left for Unit 2, and we'll start with Unit 3. But with this, we're finishing. And once again, I don't know if you have any final questions, Danitza, as I'm sharing the poll with you.
No, I really glad to get those elements to practice. I will find, I know, a couple to make them part of my routine. I hope.
Yes, it's going to be up to you. Again, I don't know how you organize your elements. I know that you're responsible. I know that you're interested in learning, and that's more important than anything. All right. But again, if you get to fit these elements, we have one more, please. This is the fourth class. This one over here. If you get to fit these strategies, these elements to your routine, to your, well, way of practicing, it's going to improve it a lot. All right. So let's fill out, please, that last survey that you see over there, Denisa, and that would be it for now.
Okay.
All right. There you go. So thanks for being here tonight. I hope you have a good rest of the night, a good weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. All right.
Good weekend too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Danitza. Bye bye. See you Monday.
See you.